First and foremost, and to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rukakwadash. Yahweh is who this world ignorantly calls God. Yahushai is who this world ignorantly calls Jesus. Bahashim means in the name, Rakah means spirit, and Quadash means holy. And that's on the Paleo Hebrew. Also to give double honors to the outer bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. Today's lesson, I wanted to go into Isaiah the 47th chapter and pretty much break it all down, go into what it's talking about. So let's just start from the top. It says lament for Babylon. Okay, when it's talking about Babylon, it's a lucky for the voice. My voice is just absolutely dead. When it's talking about Babylon here, Babylon the Great, virgin daughter of Babylon, it's talking about America. Right? This is the same Babylon that it talks about in Revelation. All of Revelation, Revelation the 18th chapter, this is all talking about America. Okay? And the way you know that is because when you look at the destruction that is outlined, it goes into how a Babylon's going to be burned with fire, right? In 1 hour, it's going to be burned with fire, as it says right here in verse 10. Standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. Okay, and when you go into the context, it says it's going to be burnt. Okay, nobody, right? Nobody's going to ever inhabit this land again, according to Jeremiah the 50th chapter. So, when you go into the context, okay, this can't possibly be talking about ancient Babylon. First, because ancient Babylon didn't have a mighty destruction like that, right? If we were to search up how did ancient Babylon fall, it says in 539 BCE, the Persian Achaemenid dynasty under Cyrus the Great conquered Babylon, the capital of the Neo-Babylonian Empire, with little resistance. The Persians had been growing a strait to the east and devised a plan to divert the Euphrates River to manageable depths so they could enter the city. The Babylonians had prepared for a siege, but the Persians were able to get into the city without a fight. And it tells you right there, right? They were able to acquire it with little resistance. Okay, and this was man-to-man combat. Okay, but when we read about Babylon here, it talks about how, hey, there's going to be smoke. This is going to be destroyed in 1 hour. Okay, and this is talking about the nuclear destruction. So I just wanted to go into that briefly. Now let's start. It says, Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There's no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Right? And the reason it's called the virgin daughter of Babylon, America is called that, right, is because America is pretty much untouched. Until today, America is pretty much untouched. We haven't seen a crazy war here. Okay, and everybody believes that this place is never going to go down. Everybody is living delicately, right, secure, because we have the greatest army, military, pretty much in the entire world. It says, Take the millstones and grind the meal, uncover thy locks, and make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. Okay, and this is actually happening right now, right? The nakedness, okay, and the shame of America is being uncovered, right? The world is realizing that this place is the problem, okay? That wickedness stems from here, okay, from the way of thinking, which is completely contrary to the Most High, right? We live in a society that promotes wickedness, promotes adultery, okay? It is anti-Hamashiach. And when you go to Jeremiah the 50th chapter, and Jeremiah chapter 51, and verse 7, it's talking about the same thing, America. Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, that made all the earth drunken. Right? And when it's talking about that cup, let me actually just keep reading it. It says, Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Okay, and as I was saying, right, the wine is talking about philosophy, right? And America's wine, America's philosophy has spread throughout the entire earth, right? The entire earth has been drunken of that philosophy, right? The entire earth slowly but surely is being Americanized, right? It is being drawn into feminism, okay? Is being drawn away from the Most High's commandments, right? Righteousness. Even though the majority of the world, right, is not even on the righteous step at all, right? Babylon or this American system philosophy leads you even more astray, right? So that's how all the earth has become drunken, because America pushes that philosophy of wickedness. It says the nations have drunken of her wine, right? Nations have been Americanized. You go to China, and now all of a sudden you have a 510 McDonald's everywhere you go. That's Americanization, that wine. Okay, it says, therefore the nations are mad. Right? The nations are mad because they realize that it doesn't benefit them. Right? These Arab countries, when they see that their daughters, and as soon as they start watching some Sexy Red, right, some Coi Leray, okay, some Meg Thee Stallion, that they want to start taking off their hijabs, right, take off their dresses and start twerking. They hate that shit. Right? When they see that their boys, right, all of a sudden are being drawn into homosexuality, right, and being botsy boys, being all feminine, they hate that shit. Right? That's why they're mad, because they realize that it's wicked. Okay, so going back to verse 3, it says, thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. And that's what I was just going into. Right? The nakedness and the shame of America is being seen by everybody. Everybody is realizing that. This place got to go. And when you go to Revelation, the 17th chapter, it goes into, it goes into the 10 horns, which the 10 horns is talking about NATO and EU, right? That's the context. So verse 16 says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, right? The whore is talking about America, Babylon the Great, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Right, so it's going into how even America's allies, those 10 horns, the NATO and EU, are going to turn upon this place and burn this place with fire. Because everybody, every single nation is going to realize that America is the problem. Right? Every single nation. So, let's go back to Isaiah 47. It says, I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. Right? This is talking about Yahweh Shai. Breaks it down in the 4th verse. As for our Redeemer, the Lord of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. Right? So, this is talking about Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai, he's coming back to take down this kingdom. He's coming back to take down America. Right? It actually goes into that in Isaiah the 63rd chapter. In Isaiah chapter 63 and verse 1, it says, who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? Right, and the key point is that Edom, right, the Edomites, they rule Babylon the Great, America. The Edomites today are so-called white people, and they are the ones in rulership. Okay, the elites are Edomites. And one scripture to really prove this, showing that Babylon and Edom is synonymous, is Jeremiah chapter 50, when it talks about the nuclear destruction, right here, in Jeremiah chapter 49. Actually, I can do it in this fashion. Right. So both these scriptures, when you look at the sentence structure, it's talking about the same thing, right? But there's two words that are different. Right, let's read it. It says, therefore hear the counsel of the Lord that he hath taken against Edom, and his purposes that he hath purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. Okay, and then when it's talking about the least of the flock, it's going into these Jewish people, right? They're Edomites, but they call themselves Jewish, right? They're actually imposters. Edomites, but they're painting the image that they are the true chosen people of the Lord. Edomites acting like Israelites. But those are the least of the flock. Okay, and through them, their habitations are going to be made desolate. Through them, the big nations, World War III, is going to get started. Because it's going to start from the least of the flock, Israel, versus Palestine. That was the beginning. Then Israel, Lebanon, Israel, Iran, Who's backing Iran? Russia. It talks about that in Ezekiel the 38th chapter. And who's backing Israel? America. And that's how you get America versus Russia, World War III. And that's the big nations drawn out. And when we get to that point, World War III, hey, Russia is going to make their habitations desolate because the land of Israel and the land of America is going to be completely wiped out. The only difference is that Israel is going to be brought back up. The land of Israel is going to be built back up, but America is going to be a desert forever. Okay, so just the context, the breakdown. But when you read Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 45, it says the same thing. Therefore hear ye the counsel of the Lord that he hath taken against Babylon, and his purposes that he hath purposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. Right, so it's talking about the same scenario. But here it says Edom, and here it says Babylon. Right? Why does it say that? Because the Edomites rule Babylon the Great. The Edomites, so-called white people, rule America, in layman's terms. So, going back to Isaiah chapter 63, right, we read here how it says, I will take vengeance and I will not meet thee as a man. Going into how Yahushua is coming back to destroy this place. So this is Isaiah chapter 63 and verse 1. It says, Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Right? It says, and this is talk about Yahushua. Right? It says, Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat. It says, and he's saying now, I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there is none with me. For I would tread them in mine anger, and trample them in my fury. And their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my raiment. For the day of vengeance is in mine heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. Okay, so pretty much what it's going into, okay, is how Yahushua, and then Isaiah is asking, who is this that is coming from Edom, right, with dyed garments, right? His garments were all red, right, and it was symbolic of all the blood that he's going to shed, right? So the main point is Yahushua is going to go to Edom, Babylon the Great, to cause havoc, to destroy, okay, to bring in that balance, right, justice. And you know it's talking about him because it says, who is this mighty to save? Right, he's coming to save the elect. Okay, the day of vengeance is in his heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. Right, the time when he's his second arrival. So that's what he's talking about in Isaiah 47, how he's going to take vengeance. And it also says, and I will not meet thee as a man. That's another point, because Yahushua, when he comes back, he's coming back in his angelic, glorious body. Right? It says that in 1 John chapter 3 and verse 2, it says, Beloved, now are we the sons of God, and it doth not yet appear what we shall be. But we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. Okay, and that's going into Hebrews the 8th chapter. 1 Corinthians the 15th chapter, how in the twinkling of an eye we shall all be changed, right? And we're going to be immortal. So going into how Yahushua, he's going to come back in that immortal, glorious body, okay, not as a mortal man. And when we see him, we're also going to be converted, right, at the last trump, right? When he comes back, the elect are going to be changed and receive the second covenant fully, the law, statutes, and commandments inside of us, and be immortal. Okay, so that's why it says that he's not going to meet thee as a man. He's coming back in his glorious apparel. So it says, as for our Redeemer, the Lord of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. Sit thou silent, and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. I was wroth with my people, and I have polluted mine inheritance, and given them into thine hand. Thou didst show them no mercy. Upon thine ancients hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke. Right, and that's going into a slavery. Right, how a Jake, so-called Latinos, Negroes, Native Americans were in slavery under the so-called white man, the Edomites. Okay, and these Edomites, they had no mercy on us, right? They really, they went all out. Okay, no mercy. Okay, so they gotta pay for that, right? They gotta pay for that. Let's read it one more time. It says, "I was wroth with my people; I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into thine hand. Thou didst show them no mercy; upon thine ancients as thou very heavily laid thy yoke." Okay, and we can actually read about the slavery in Joel, the third chapter. In Joel chapter 3 and verse 3, it says, well, let's start at verse 1. It says, "For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem," right? Going into, hey, this coming Exodus, this coming salvation. He's coming back to save the elect out of the 12 tribes, right? To take us out of captivity, okay, out of all of our oppressors. It says, "I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat." Right? It says Jehoshaphat, but it actually should say Yehoshaphat, which that word means Yahweh's judgment. And that land is going to be over there in the east, right? Around there in Saudi Arabia. That's where World War III is going to take place. It says, "And I will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered amongst the nations, and parted my land." Right? So the Lord, He's going to gather all these nations to deal with them, right? To bring that justice for what they have done unto us. It says, "And these nations, and they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they might drink." Right? So we were sold as prostitutes, a boy for a prostitute, a girl for wine. We were sold as slaves. It says, "Yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre, and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? Will you render me a recompense? And if you recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head?" Right? When it's talking about Tyre and Zidon, when you go to that word Zidon, okay, it goes into Zidon, the name of a son of Canaan. Okay, and we know that the Canaanites, right, go back to Ham, right, which the Canaanites are pretty much the ancient Egyptians. The Canaanites, Hamites, or the Hamites today would be those real Africans, right? Let's search it up. Let's see if it pulls it up. Hamites. Actually, if you search up the Zondervan Combat Bible Dictionary of Ham, it tells you, right, who is pretty much the people that came out of Ham. It says Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood, he became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. Right? So those Africans over there, real Africans, ones chasing lions and shit with fucking 12-inch gauges, right? They are Hamites. Okay, and it clearly makes a distinction to not the Negroes, because the Negroes are a different type of so-called black, right? Dark skin. We go back to Shem, okay, another son of Noah. We don't go back to Ham. So when it's talking about the Canaanites in Joel the third chapter, right? When it's talking about Zidon, and it said that Zidon was the son of Canaan, this is talking about those Africans. Okay, so those Africans with all the coast of Palestine, those Arabs, it says that they gotta pay. Why? "Because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things." It says, "The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their border." Okay, and that's the point, is that these Africans with these Arabs, they sold the children of Israel onto the Grecians, onto so-called white people. And this is talking about transatlantic slavery. Right? When you search up Negroes sold by Africans and Arabs, transatlantic slavery, it gives you the info. Uh, Let's see. You gotta probably phrase it a different way. Let's see if we can find the information quickly. Because what I'm saying is on point. Just that I don't know if Google is gonna bring it up. Let's search it up on ChatGPT. Did Arabs and Africans sell Negroes to whites transatlantic slavery? Okay. There you go. So it says Arab involvement in the slave trade. Arabs were involved in the slave trade long before transatlantic slave trade began, starting from the 7th century. The Arab slave trade involved the capture and sale of African slaves across the Sahara Desert to North Africa, the Middle East, and even parts of Asia. And the key point is that those so-called African slaves, it was going into those Negroes. It was going into primarily, it was going into the Hebrew Israelites, right, the Southern Kingdom, right? Because what happened is that in 70 A.D., when the temple got sacked by the Romans, okay, those Negroes, okay, Southern Kingdom, they fled into northern and western Africa, and they dwelt there, right, for a long time. And the reason that's how you know the reason you had because nowadays people look at it, oh, black people were selling their own people. No, what was happening is that those Hamites, those real Africans, were selling the Negroes, the Jews, okay, to the whites because they didn't belong there, right? They immigrated over there and they looked at our people as these people don't belong here. We got to get rid of them, and that's what was happening. It says while the Arab slave trade was distinct from the transatlantic slave trade, it laid the groundwork for the practice of capturing and selling African people, which later influenced other slave trades, including the transatlantic one. Various African rulers and merchants participated in the transatlantic slave trade by capturing and selling enslaved people to European traders, right? Those Grecians. It's talking about the Edomites. It says this involvement was often motivated by economic incentives, such as European goods, including firearms, textiles, and alcohol. Right. The captured individuals were then transported across the Atlantic Ocean in horrific conditions, known as the Middle Passage, to work primarily on plantations in the Americas. That's exactly what we just read out of the scriptures. Zidon, going into those Hamites, those Africans, with the coast of Palestine, those Arabs, sold the children of Judah and Jerusalem unto the Grecians that ye might remove them far from their border. Right, what was our border? The land of Israel. We were removed far from there, all the way to the Western Hemisphere. Okay, so I wanted to touch on that, right? Edification always. So going back to Isaiah 47, verse 7, it says, and thou sayest, now it's talking about America, Babylon the Great again. It's been talking about Babylon the Great the entire time. But it says, I was wroth with my people, no, verse 7, and thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. Therefore hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me, I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. Right, this is going into how America believes, right, that they are never going to go down. If you were to ask your common American citizen, Edomite, if he thinks America is going to go down, if these people believe that this place is going to go on forever, that America can never be defeated, we have the best army, military, blah, blah, blah. Right? They believe that they are and none else. They are the top dogs. And that they are never going to sit as a widow. Right? They are never going to go down. Okay, and it says, but these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day. The loss of children and widowhood, they shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of thy sorceries, and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. Right? So it's saying, oh, you think the American things is never going to be touched? Yeah, right. Right? You're going to get touched, and it's going to be in one day. Right? For all the wickedness that you have done. Right? And when you go to Salakia, when you go into Joel or Revelation, it talks about this the exact same way. Right in, let's find it. Right, verse 7 it says, how much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Right? Nobody's going to touch America. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord God who judgeth her. Right? And this is talking about the reason it's going to go down in one day, specifically 1 hour, is because the nuclear missiles, the nuclear destruction is going to make this place a wasteland. Okay, so let's keep reading. It says, for thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee. And thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. Therefore shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from whence it riseth. And mischief shall fall upon thee, thou shalt not be able to put it off. And desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Right? So evil is coming to this place, and there's nothing you can do about it. Right? And when you go to Jeremiah 51, and Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 8, it says, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her? Take balm for her pain, if so she may be healed. Right? So try to fix her. Let's see if we can fix Babylon. It says, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country. For her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. Right? So no matter what people try to do, Babylon is not going to be healed. This place is going to go down. It says, stands now with thine enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, when thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. Right? So it's saying, hey, since these Americans, Babylon the Great is all into witchcraft, right, and numerology, astrology, hey, let that shit save you. Let's see if it saves you from the wrath of the Lord. It says, behold, they shall be as stubble. The fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. There shall not be a coal to warm at, nor to fire to sit before it. Thus shall they be unto thee, with whom thou hast labored, even thy merchants from thy youth. They shall wander every one to his quarter. None shall save thee. Right? So all the bullshit that these people do nowadays that's promoted in society, all that shit is going to be futile. Because Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai is coming to take this place down. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. So, I'll stop right there. That was Isaiah chapter 47 breakdown. Hopefully this is edifying. But with that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Ba'Shem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. Shalom to you, Shalom.